Reaching Teens by Toy C. and Christina D. Communicating with teens can seem like an impossible task at times, but there really is a science to it. It is really important to understand the key issues facing adolescents. Thanks to neuroscience and psychology, dealing with teenagers can actually become less daunting. If you have ever worked with teenagers, or if you have teenagers of your own, then you have surely experienced the frustration that can occur in dealing with teens, even in simple situations. Teenage behavior can be very unpredictable, volatile, even extreme. You can never be certain of what to expect because teenage behavior seems to change almost by the day. The behavior can seem to be so random at times that teachers and parents can easily think, why can't they act like adults? The truth is, teenagers cannot act like adults because they do not think like adults. The teenage brain is actually still under construction. As teenagers learn new information or gain new experiences, their brain makes adjustments and grows. With plenty of restructuring occurring, the teenage brain can seem, frankly, unorganized, spontaneous, and even chaotic. There is a fatty substance in the brain called myelin, which is produced to allow information to travel efficiently. This release of myelin does not happen all at once but is released in stages. The timing of this release of myelin depends on the developmental age of the individual, the environment, and genetics. One of the last parts of the brain to receive this myelin is the frontal lobe. This is the area of the brain that is responsible for decision making. The frontal lobes in the brain are in charge of keeping us calm. However, the amygdala is also a factor. This organ of the brain controls our emotions, pleasure, fear, anger, etc. The difference between teenagers and adults is that adults rely more on the frontal lobes and less on the amygdala, which allows us as adults to respond to situations more logically. Teenagers, on the other hand, rely more on the amygdala when confronted with stimuli. As a result, by responding emotionally, teens are more likely to act irrationally or make poor decisions. So the question becomes, why do teens do such unpredictable, often senseless things? As teachers or parents of teens, it is important to understand that teens have an innate craving for novelty. Teens are actually drawn to things that are rowdy, senseless, and even dangerous. This is one aspect that largely separates the teenage brain from a younger child's or an adult brain. Novelty is very attractive to teenagers because the result is likely an intense feeling of pleasure or gratification. Even normally sensible teens are tempted by novelty. In the teenage brain, novelty stimulates the production of dopamine, which makes us feel good. It has been found that the same neurons that are affected by novelty are actually those affected by drug use, such as cocaine. This knowledge can be very useful for teachers in the classroom. If you have ever attempted to teach a group of teenagers, it will not take you long to understand how important holding their attention can be to keeping an orderly classroom. One way to capture teenagers' attention in the classroom is through the use of novelty. Wear the costume, stand on the chair, or even sing a song. Novelty can be very effective for capturing the attention of teenagers. As if things could not get any more chaotic in the teen brain, add the conflict between the amygdala and the frontal lobe. The lack of emotional regulation in the frontal lobe, combined with the impulsive behavior prompts in the amygdala, ends in the susceptibility in teens for reckless, at-risk behaviors. Everything that teens experience has the ability to impact them long term, so the more positive, the better. The way to expose teens to positive experiences is to tap into their emotions. Because teens tend to rely more on the amygdala in the brain, emotional experiences are very impacting. During adolescence, teens often ponder the question of, who am I? Think about images you have seen of teens with body piercings, outrageous hairstyles, and even more outrageous clothes. This is the process teenagers go through as they attempt to understand who they are. It is during this time that self-concept begins to form. As we have seen many times as teachers, self-concept among teenagers can vary from extremely high to extremely low. What is important to understand is that self-concept is actually shaped by our past experiences. Positive experiences like receiving a top score on a test or being invited to the coveted party all help build a positive self-concept. On the contrary, being teased, bullied, or humiliated in class can all reinforce a negative self-concept. The amygdala remembers emotional experiences, both positive and negative. Unfortunately, when a remembered emotion is anger or fear, the amygdala will be hesitant to pass this experience on to working memory, which can lead to a learning block. On the other hand, pleasant associations are made from pleasant experiences. The amygdala remembers the pleasant feeling and opens the door to learn more. Consequently, lifetime connections to positive experiences can be established. Along with forming self-concept, stress is very rampant during the adolescent period. Adolescent stress is usually associated with school, peers, or family situations. In the school setting, teachers can unintentionally create additional stress with constant threats of low grades, suspensions, or other consequences. Because the teenage brain is extremely vulnerable to stress, teens will act defensively and avoid situations that cause stress. Instead of threatening teenagers, teachers can instead try to make their experience as less stressful as possible. Talking with the students about their progress, offering assistance, and encouraging them can all play large roles in reducing stress among teenagers. Another way to reduce stress and encourage teens is to provide feedback because the teenage brain is undergoing so many changes. For teens, feedback can complete the cycle of learning, actually aiding brain development and efficiency. Feedback helps teens to make adjustments and corrections in understanding and even in behavior. It is important for teachers to understand that feedback is most effective when it is timely and specific. Unfortunately, teachers are often guilty of being so inundated with things to do that the importance of providing feedback is underestimated. Feedback is necessary for the teenage brain to reevaluate what it thinks it knows. To take this thought even further, positive feedback can actually help teens reduce stress. Hearing positive words and comments can help to keep teens relaxed. As teachers, we always want to do what is best for our students. One way to gain teenagers' attention is to enable and allow them to see the practical application of what we are teaching. As adults, it is easy for us to understand the importance of experiences in life. However, for teenagers, goal setting can give them some direction for success. For teens, setting both short and long-term goals is very important. Setting short-term goals allows teens to work toward a goal without being distracted by other goals. By setting a short-term goal, motivation is likely to be enhanced simply because the goal can seem attainable. Setting long-term goals is also important for teenagers to do. These goals will also help teens to achieve their desires. However, it is important for teachers to understand and remember that a sense of time and future does not develop in the teenage brain until about age 15 or 16, when the frontal lobe takes on more responsibility in the brain. Goal setting, something that can take just mere seconds to do, can have very positive effects. As the teenage brain develops, teenagers will begin to be able to better understand the perspective of others. From this, empathy develops. A great attribute for a teen is to develop a spirit of giving and unselfishness. Unlike younger children, who generally are egocentric by nature, teens have the capacity to see the world through other people's eyes. As the teenage brain develops, their own perspective changes. One great way to enhance this developing perspective is through service learning. This can be a very effective way for teenagers to develop a spirit of kindness and generosity. Teachers can enhance this in the classroom by creating a classroom environment of generosity and morality. As a teacher, how great would it be for your students to all feel like worthy, valuable contributors to the class? Working with teenagers can be both extremely frustrating and extremely rewarding at the same time. As educators, we must not stand idly by and simply watch this challenging stage of development. Teenagers are relying on us to create classrooms that will foster learning while supporting their emotional and social growth. Teenagers will find security and comfort within the boundaries of a caring classroom, allowing them to develop at their own pace into the young adults they are becoming. As educators, learning how to better understand how to reach teenagers will lead to great levels of gratification, and the many benefits will follow.